Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Noah and I wanted to welcome all of you to another installment of Monologue Monday here on my YouTube channel. Monologue Monday. If you happen to be a returning Monologue Monday viewer, I want to thank you so much for tuning it back in, and as always, I hope you can take something away from this video as well. With all of that being said, let's get into this installment of Monologue Monday. So for this episode of Monologue Monday, I want to talk a little bit briefly about the idea, the concept of becoming a perfect person and how this is really, quite honestly, a pipe dream. We will never be perfect. We'll be very, very far from perfect, and that's okay. And I think the main point that I want to try to get across within this episode of Monologue Monday is that we need to acknowledge that we are far from perfect in our very state, and by the time we are dead, no matter how hard we work, we're still going to be very far, and that's completely okay. I think the reason this kind of came to my mind, came to my think tank, is because I was watching newer movies that come out that are kind of geared more towards people 18 and under and so on. So a lot of these individuals are still obviously developing, not only mentally, physically as well, but they're also kind of forming an identity for themselves during this period as well. And one thing that I noticed in a lot of these movies, and they're not just strictly limited to PG-13 movies, or this kind of extends into more adult movies as well, is that these characters, right, these protagonists, these main characters, from the very beginning of their story, which is their movie, right, from the very beginning, they are basically perfect, right? They don't really seem to have any flaws. Every time there is an obstacle, they just work through it, right? They never lose. And if they do lose, it's a very transient thing, and it's not their fault, and they did everything perfectly. And basically, long story short, I'm not going to get into the many examples of where I saw this, but these main characters, right, that the audience is supposed to identify with, are perfect right from the beginning. There's nothing wrong with them. They're perfect through the entire movie. They're perfect from the start. They realize throughout the movie, during the climax, that they're still perfect, and that being perfect with no flaws will get them to what they need. And then the movie ends, and then I'm kind of just sitting there ruminating on how that's possible and why the creators would choose to do something like that. And then it kind of dawned on me that looking at my own life as well, one of the biggest strengths that I have and have recently developed is the acknowledgement that no matter how hard I work, no matter how much I try to be a good person, no matter how much I donate, right, no matter how much I donate my time or money or care for others or anything like that, and try to be a good person, try to be responsible, I'm never going to get there, right? But this is something that has given me a lot of motivation to not only keep going, but try to get to as perfect as possible, even though I know deep down that is a pipe dream. And I think, kind of relating to the movie example that I just brought up, is that if we kind of encourage, or we kind of tell people from the time that they're young that they are perfect, right? They're perfect just the way they are. There's no room for them to develop, right? There's no room for someone to become a better athlete if they're constantly being told that they are the best, right? It just doesn't work like that. And the same thing goes for our human characteristics, right? What makes us human? What makes us a good person, bad person, and so on? If we're telling people from the very start that they are perfect in their current state, then they're not going to work hard towards being even a little bit better, right? Because they're going to believe that they're perfect. And this is something that, like I said, really helped me out. It was the realization that, not being perfect and never being perfect, actually, because it's impossible because we're human, is there's beauty in that, right? That's part of the human experience, but it shouldn't stop you from continuing to try to get to that point, try to get to perfect as close as you can. And like I said in the intro of this video, it's, you know, by the time you die, it's still going to be very far. But that's the beauty in the journey of, right, all of these years of trying to be as perfect as possible, but still not succeeding in this endeavor is what makes us human, right? And that's something that I want to emphasize in this video. But the reality is that there are many individuals out there, maybe you know some of these individuals as well, where they kind of go about their day to day, their year to year, whatever it is, being in their 20s or 30s or 40s, whatever it is, kind of in this mindset that they've already peaked to perfection, right? If you would ask them, what they would change about themselves, they really wouldn't have much to say. That if you wanted to ask them what they would improve, they might not have much to say there either. And then they certainly have this kind of attitude, this holier than thou type of attitude where they've reached perfection. They've reached their peak of human existence, and there's nowhere else to go. Everybody else is just kind of chasing them. And you can kind of see this in the way that they treat service workers, or they treat family, or they treat friends even. And this is something that, is ultimately, in my opinion, a very toxic thing to have, right? Not only because you're kind of negligent to the fact that you're going to be far from perfect for your entire life, but you're also kind of leaving people with a bad taste in their mouth, possibly making their already difficult day even worse. And that's just not something that I can support. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to kind of talk about some of these points that I've looped into this idea of how we're never going to be perfect, and that's okay, right? But it's not okay to acknowledge that and just come out and say, well, I'm fine the way that I am, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm not saying that, but I am saying you need to acknowledge that and continue to try to be better, right? Continue to be try to get to perfect, even though at the end of it, you know that you're ultimately not going to get there. And I can confidently say from personal experience that this mindset of acknowledging that I'm always going to be very, very far from perfect shouldn't hold me back from trying, right? I think one of the worst things that we can do as individuals is just kind of settle in and not try to improve, not try to be smarter, healthier, better in every single way. And I think that's ultimately what leads to a lot of the distress and disagreements and obviously health implications that we have here in the United States. So this mindset, like I said, has really brought me to kind of to the next level of my character, I think is maybe a good way to put it. And I hope some of these points that I brought up in this video can maybe help you as well. So there you go. Those are just a few of my thoughts on this idea of perfection and some of my personal opinions on how we're never going to get there. That's okay, but it shouldn't stop us from ultimately trying our best. But of course, I want to hear from you guys as well. If you have anything to add to my talking points here, I'd love to hear them in the comment section below. And as always, if you've stuck along this far in the video, I want to thank you so much for your time today, and I hope to see you again sometime soon.